Misconception. Misconception.
Look cannon.
Misconception.
I'll leave your brain stimulated.
Slang came from a land where they suffer from the effects of depravity like gang banging and earthquakes. Most famous, no-namers, split a brain and plain a taste for the king of kings. I know it's a strange concept, peddling redemption, boy, what more can I say? Made me in like Craven, trying to make him famous, it's not Dre. Filling these 58s with phrases that would deem us unfit to succeed among these heathens. It's so crucial in the belly of the crucible that you would understand that stage like him on Daniel. It's handing out cancer, that's why fame was never the aim.
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing this morning? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Hey, Facebook user, can't see your name because unfortunately you haven't given permission to StreamYard so we can see your name. But when you do, I'll be able to say, hey, what's up? Like I'm able to say, hey, what's up to Dion? How you doing this morning? I'm able to say, hey, what's up to Melinda? I hope you are well. I want to be able to see your name and say hi. And I would love for you to greet me. Yes, not you, the fake person whose name is showing up as Facebook user. At least it's showing up to me. I'm able to see your name, so that's why I'm able to know you. I appreciate you all coming on. Great morning to you as well. I hope you all are. I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody's family is well. I hope everyone had a great Yom Kippur if you celebrate that. And if you don't, I hope you just had a great week overall. Hey, Brittany, how you doing? Hey, Chandria, I apologize for that. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining me. Please go ahead. Please don't hesitate to share with your family and friends and your fellow Facebook users. I'd appreciate it. It'd be great because sharing is caring. You know, that's how it goes. I hope you all enjoyed this morning's broadcast. We're going to get started here very shortly. But I want to give everyone a chance to come in. So again, please go ahead and share with your family and friends. Yes. Blessed Yom Kippur, happy Yom Kippur, however you should choose to express it. Hey, Monica, how you doing? Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I'm glad to see you all here. Glad to see you all here. I appreciate it very much. Happy Saturday morning. This is Swift Shot Saturdays. And again, we're going to get started here in a few minutes. Format is going to be slightly different. No, I couldn't find the information I was trying to get. I couldn't find it in a place where I could easily extract it. So I'm going to have to read it from my phone. So if you don't mind, please bear with me. We shall get going here momentarily. Okay. All right, today's topic is about truth. Okay, so we're going to get into it. Good morning and welcome once again to Know Why We Believe. This is Swift Shot Saturdays. I am your host, Kavan C. Hicks, and I hope that you all are blessed and highly favored as you come in and get yourselves settled in. Please relax. Please make yourselves at home, even though we're virtual. And if you see the need, please go ahead. You might need to do so. Go ahead and get a paper and pencil ready or pen ready so you can write down some information. If there's anything that I need to repeat, I will be happy to do so. Hey, Pamela. Hey, Sonia. How you doing? Thanks for coming on. Okay, good. Thanks for coming on, Sonia. I appreciate it. On behalf of myself and my exquisite wife, yes, my wife is exquisite. I love my baby, Tamara M. Hicks. I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your restful Saturday morning to join me. As many of you know Why We Believe and Rainfire Apologetics is a branch of Rainfire Ministries International, where I attempt to show the reasonable, rational, and intellectual side of our faith in Christ, and also fulfill the call of 1 Peter 3:15 to sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, always being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, but doing so with gentleness and respect, something we must keep at the very forefronts of our mind whenever we are It's when we are witnessing Christ, when we are talking about Christ, when we are being what the Bible calls living epistles, read of men. That's what we are. We are living epistles read of men, which basically is a really beautiful way of saying that we need to, our behavior needs to line up with that of Christ. Our hearts need to line up with that of Christ so that we will express godly, righteous behavior, so that people will see it and desire to be a part of our family, which is life, which is the family of Christ. Okay. And so I want to make sure we fulfill that. And so for those who are familiar with this broadcast, know that we consider and tackle common and not so common objections to Christianity. And according to 2 Peter 10:5, give biblical responses to dismantle misconceptions. Again, we want to always dismantle misconceptions because we want anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God is evil. Anything that exalts itself against God's knowledge was here before any other knowledge was. God's wisdom, God is logic. God is not. God is love, of course. God is justice, but he is the epitome of everything. He is perfection in everything, in every good thing. And so we want to make sure that we know anything that exalts us, even within us, anything within us or in another person that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, according to 2 Corinthians 10:5, we have to destroy it because it's false and it does not need to be perpetuated. And so that's what we're going to do. Today's topic is a common objection and belief concerning truth that many people hold, but few people can actually live it out. And that objection is moral truth is a product of culture, or another way of saying it is each culture determines its own moral standards. Okay. Each culture determines its own moral standards. Moral truth is a product of culture. In other words, moral truth differs from culture to culture. So I can't tell you how you should live your life, and you can't tell me how I should live my life. Okay. And as you will begin to see as we progress through this lesson is not, this objection, or this ideal, if you will, is not only incorrect, but it's actually rather dangerous if people were to actually try and live this out. It's actually really dangerous. So before we go any further, we must pray and seek God's wisdom. So Father, we thank you and praise you and we magnify you. Lord, I lift up your holy name because you are worthy to be praised. And I lift up my voice to praise you, oh God. Lord, I humble myself before you. I not only humble you through word, but I humble my heart before you. I declare, you said that we have to call those things that be not as though they were, or we're supposed to speak things into existence. Well, I humble my heart before you. I humble my mind before you, because without you, I cannot do this the right way. I can do it, but I cannot do it the right way. So I surrender this entire broadcast to you. I surrender the people who are under the sound of my voice. I surrender them to you. And I ask that they would we would all surrender our wills to you, oh God, so that this will come out the way that you desire it, oh God. Lord, I ask that you would give me wisdom. I ask that you would give me understanding, because you said that understanding is the principal thing. And I ask that you give me the ability to utter what you desire for me to utter. They decrease so that you might increase, because this needs to go right and it needs to represent you the right way. I take no glory for myself. I give all glory to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Melinda. Moral truth is moral truth a product of culture? And that's the question we're going to answer. Okay. And so let's get started. I'm reading from my phone. Like I said, I couldn't find the information where I could extract it otherwise. So please forgive me for looking down as much as I do. So again, we always want to ask questions or make the information profound, and pertinent, if you will, so that people will think about what they hold as belief systems, right? So you can start it off like this: if cultures are the source of moral truth, what happens when two cultures disagree? What happens when two cultures disagree? I've done my DNA, and found out that I have a couple different cultures which make up who I am. It comes from my ancestors going all the way back. I actually went back and did my my ancestry with my cousin when we were in Florida this past month or the month before. And part of my lineage goes all the way back to 1037 in England. Go figure. And so that's part of my culture. That's part of who I am. That's part, it might be minuscule, if you will, but a part of it is how my outlook on life. Okay. But of course, my cultural makeup is mostly like 73% West Africa, West and Central Africa, of course. And so, and I consider myself, of course, to be African American, but I do not in any way, throw away any of my other cultural background. Part of my cultural background is that I'm part Jewish, okay, Ashkenazi Jew to be exact. But no, that's just who I am. But as far as cultures, and cultural outlook, people have different cultures and societies, and there are So if we disagree, what's the source of the moral truth? If we disagree, whose moral truth is right? In other words, different cultures exist even with our own nation. There are groups even within societies like ours who disagree about important moral issues. Who's right? If you're right, aren't you pretty arrogant to think so? And if I'm right, the same question goes for me. Am I not pretty arrogant to think that I'm right over yours if there's no objective standard that lies outside of us? Even if our entire nation disagreed on even if our entire nation agreed on moral issues, we still disagree with other nations. Who's right when two nations disagree? We see the results of that all the time. That's why there are wars and rumors of wars, to quote the Bible. Because of so many people who have disagreements, and they in some cases, the disagreements are very, unnecessary, very, futile. And they let those things, because of pride, they let those things bring them to the brink of war, or they go right into war. And many people die because of two different factions. Most of the time, we know, hey, babe, how you doing? That's my exquisite wife that I talked about earlier. But many people end up dying because of the differences of a few people at the top, if you will, the top rung, who never see the battle. But the people who are in the military end up dying for your ideals and your idealistic disagreements with another person. Who makes that determination? Do larger nations determine moral truth? Again, do larger nations determine moral truth simply because they have greater cultural consensus? Do I get, in other words, for example, just to bring it down to a low level, do I get to be right because I'm 6'6", 284 pounds, and you're 5'10", 175? Sounds like a bully to me. And I'm speaking to myself. If I get to be right just because I'm really big, really tall and heavy, and you don't get to be right, it sounds like I'm being a bully, does it not? No. If groups decide what is morally right and acceptable based on the scale of their consensus, are you prepared to submit to countries like China, who outnumber us by a large margin? Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to submit to the governmental exercise, the governmental ways the way they do things? Are you willing to submit to the ideological and religious beliefs of China because of their large consensus, because of their large population? Because if that's the way you're going to look at moral beliefs, that's something you have to consider. Hey, Dolly, thanks for your comment. Yes, it is absolutely something to think about. If that's the way, if that's the logic we're going to follow to determine what is morally right, what is morally true. Here's another way you can look at it. If cultural consensus determines what is morally true, how large does the cultural consensus have to be? What if people are divided on an issue 49% to 51%? Do the 51% determine what is morally acceptable simply because they hold a slim majority? If I have 5 people that agree with me, and if you have 4 people that agree with you, that's 6 to 5. Should I get to go? No. If I want to go and murder 100 people with my 6 people, and you say that we should not murder 100 people, we shouldn't murder any people because it's not right. Should I be right? Should I be able to do what I want to do with my 6 people with no repercussions whatsoever, just because over what you want to do, which is right, just because you have less people, one less person? Does that make any logical sense whatsoever? It doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. And I know because of everybody who's on here who has no God's sense, God's common sense, and God, because what's common to God is not necessarily common to us, but God's common sense, God's wisdom, I know that's not going to make sense to anyone on here. That because I want to go and murder for 100 people, and I have 6 people or 5 people that agree with me, I make 6. You have 4 people that agree with you, which is that we should not go and murder anyone because it's not right. But because I have one more person than you, we should all go and do it. That makes no sense. But the way that some people think, the way that some people believe, they believe that that's how it should be. Whether the margin is big or small, we should go with whoever has whoever believes and has the most people following along with them. Yeah, absolutely. I know it's a no. How could someone like Martin Luther King Jr. effectively call an entire nation to reform when, at the time, his moral position was held by relatively few people? His moral position that we should change the country from being racist to being non-racist and allow all people to achieve the American dream, which is opportunity. His viewpoint was held by most Black people and a few white people, but still that was a far larger number of people compared to the rest of the country who felt like we should stay in the position that we are, being held down, held back simply because of the color of our skin, as opposed to the content of our character. Does that make any sense? And of course, again, the more important question, the more pertinent question is, because him and a small group of people held that, does that make it wrong? In other words, that can we call a nation to reform? Can we call a nation to change if a small group of people hold a good belief? In other words, does the belief become wrong just because a small group of people hold it? Or more importantly, does a bad belief, or let me say does a good belief become wrong because a small group of people hold it? Or does a bad belief become right because a large group of people hold it? Yes, we absolutely have to be careful who we conform to. That's why we understand that the moral compass is Jesus Christ, which is outside of me and you, so that when we disagree, we look at our belief system. I look at my belief system, you look at your belief systems, and then you look at God's way of doing things and see which one lines up. And then if it happens to be yours that line up, then guess who needs to change? Me. And if mine lines up, then guess who needs to change? You. And we have to get over our egos and our pride, get rid of pride, which is what brought about the fall with Satan in the first place. But get rid of that and line up with Jesus Christ, line up with what he said, his righteousness, his right way of doing things. Absolutely. It does not. And the answer is no, it does not. It does not. No, evil is still wrong. Even if 100 people believe evil, they should do evil. Good is right, even if one person believes that it should be done. Simple as that. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter about your feelings. If cultural consensus determines that what is morally appropriate, people who hold a minority view are by definition immoral. I'm going to say that again. If cultural consensus determines what is morally appropriate, people who hold a minority view are by definition immoral. In other words, if me, Sabrina, and Dolly say that it is right to not poison people, but Melinda, and this is just an example, but Melinda, Dion, if she's still on, and Monica, and 5 other people that they're friends with say it's okay, then if this is based on the amount of people that believe it, then that means that me, Sabrina, and Dolly, who said that we should not poison people, we're morally wrong. And when I say poison people, I'm talking about not that there's a good reason to poison someone, but when I say poison people, I'm just saying arbitrarily for whatever reason, for whatever flimsy reason we want. According to that logic, we are in the wrong. We are wrong according to it. Even though most people who held this belief don't believe in God, we are morally immoral. We're immoral even according to God. If we say we don't want to poison people, does that make it? Think about that. If morality is based on cultural consensus, in other words, the population of people that believe it, then that means that if I believe something right, simply because I am in the minority, I'm immoral with my right way of thinking. Seriously? But that's what the ramifications, or that's what it implies when you believe this way. Martin Luther King would therefore be immoral for disagreeing with his culture. For me disagreeing that I should be held back because of the color of my skin, for me disagreeing that I should be held back because I am a woman, if you're a woman, that you should be held back because, for me disagreeing with people that think that you should be held back for that reason, according to that logic, according to that manner of thinking, according to that way of compartmentalizing society, we are morally wrong, and we have no right to think that way. And in fact, if they were to be able to implement that into the legal system, we would go to jail for saying, hey, this woman should not be oppressed because she's a woman. Cultural consensus is wrong unless it aligns with biblical truth. Absolutely. To what or whom can moral reformers point to if moral truths are determined by the very cultures they are trying to reform? In other words, if morality is defined by the culture, then when something goes wrong in the culture on a large scale, who is it that we have to appeal to? Who is it that we know? I can't come to you because you believe that this is okay to do. Can't go to her because she believes the same way as you do. But it's destroying our society, so things need to change. Who is it that I can go to? And don't say God, because in this situation, we're acting like God doesn't exist because that's what these people are saying. So again, who is it that we have to go to? Because let's say a culture believes that every third child should be eaten, no matter what their age is. If you're third child, because I'm a third child, if you're third child, you hit. And because I'm a third child, you can come for me if you want to, but you ain't gonna get this arm. You ain't gonna get my thighs. No. You're not gonna eat me. I'm gonna fight. But let's say we want to go and do it without having to fight, because that's the way it should be done. Because I would rather not have to shed blood. Nobody wants to shed blood. But let's go and talk about it. So as we talk about it, who is it that we're gonna go to and say, well, this you can't eat, you don't have a right to eat me, bro. Just because I'm a third child, that's an arbitrary rule, and that doesn't line up with anything that makes any type of sense. So you can lick your chops if you want to, but you ain't getting no taste tonight, tomorrow, or any other night. So who am I going to go to if morality is based on culture? If it's based on culture, I have no one to appeal to. Again, I'm hit, and I just have to fend for myself. But that's why this is not realistic. And that, if you remember when I said earlier on, a lot of people believe it, but few can live up to it, because they always run into a circumstance, situation, or environment where what they believe comes back to bite them in the butt. Because, like I said, going back again, there are cultures within cultures. What if a culture over here says that they should be allowed to rape you just because? And this culture over here says that they shouldn't be allowed to rape. If they have a bigger culture, guess who's getting raped? And I'm sorry to be so graphic. I'm not going to be excessively graphic, because whether kids are here or not, this is just not necessary. But the point I'm making is this: I'm being slightly graphic because I want you to pay attention. Not that you need to pay attention, because I know you're already paying attention, but it's to get you to realize the ramifications of what we're talking about. It's to get you to realize that if we actually live this out, if we actually tried to implement this and live this out, because you would you would see hypocrisy rise rampant and then go rampant. But two, do you realize how much danger you would be in if it was based on culture? There are cultures out here that eat people. I'm serious. There are cultures out here that eat people, and that's a part of their society. And if that should be based on consensus or just because of their culture, that makes no sense that you should be able to eat me or another person. Cultures out here this culture believes in killing babies in the womb. I know that's a really hot topic, but wrong is still wrong. Right. I am pointing it out. No, because there are people out here who are murderers and serial killers. If enough serial killers to get together, you can form your own serial killer culture. And then you move that culture around in secret now, because people do have at least some sense, but you move that culture around, you kill people, maim them, and then throw them away so their families can't find them anymore. And that's your culture. And if culture is more, if morality is a product of culture, who am I to tell you that your culture is wrong? Because apparently it's your culture versus my culture, and there's nothing above either of those cultures to say, nope, you're wrong, you happen to be right, just because you're on the side of what's up here. Not that you're right in and of yourself. This is another topic. But a lot of people say, well, so you're saying that we should follow Christianity because you follow it? No, I'm not saying that. If I didn't follow Christianity, you should follow it because it's the best thing going. But people like to make up things and then knock it down and act like they're saying something, they're doing something. It's called a straw man. Because I never said that you should follow it because I follow it. I said that you should follow it because it's right. Yeah, it absolutely is very misleading. And the reality is, hey, Lori, how you doing this morning? Thank you for coming on. The reality is, Dolly, there's that goes on a lot in our culture as Black people to follow what's going on. I was watching a video the other day where they were saying that the 10 times I think it was that Max Kellerman, I watch sports a lot. Max Kellerman, who actually has since been fired from ESPN, but the 10 times Max Kellerman was Blacker than Stephen A. Smith. And so the first thing that they were talking about, where they was talking about how Max Kellerman is Blacker than Stephen A. Smith, was when there's a basketball player, I think he's retired now. His name is Zach Randolph. He actually went to Michigan State, for those in Michigan. And he, at this point, he was playing for Sacramento Kings. And I guess he got stopped and got caught with like a lot of weed, marijuana. And then they put on there that he had marijuana and he had an intent to sell. And so the few times I've agreed with Stephen A. Smith is that he said that he should have been ashamed of himself, because no, you couldn't wait, or you couldn't know you're making what if even if it wasn't true, you have this marijuana on you for what? And he said you should be he said you're misrepresenting yourself. He said you're misrepresenting the team, which in some cases I agree with. Some cases I care less, because as long as I could be representing myself the right way, and the team may not agree. Am I going to change because the team organization disagrees? No, I'm not. But you got people in the comments agreeing with Max Kellerman, because he said basically saying that, and I'm not going to misrepresent him, but he's saying basically that they were going overboard, because of course many people in this country think that marijuana should be legalized. With that, again, that's another topic. But the point is this: it's really sad and actually kind of disgusting how many people sit around, and Black people sit around, and they think that being Black is being ignorant. They think that being Black is acting like a fool, when that's not it at all. I mean, there are certain things about our culture that I love, and a lot of things about our culture that I love. I love who God made me. I mean, I would love who God made me no matter how he made me, but I love who he made me now. But the reality is that there's far too many things that we as people side with just because the person that's talking about it is Black. And you are against a bunch of things that are right just because the person that's talking about it is white, or some other ethnicity. Because last time I looked, we're only one race made up of a bunch of different ethnicities. We're not different races. We're all one race, the human race. Like, for example, a great example that's very pertinent to what we're talking about. There are a lot of people out here, for whatever reason, for many reasons, that they'll say, oh, I'm not going to follow Christianity because that's the white man's religion. Really? That's funny, because last time I looked, there was an Ethiopian man, black, who got saved back in 56 AD of his own free will. And last time I looked, the transatlantic slave trade did not start until like the 1600s. I'm sorry, like the 1400s, 1500s maybe. So how is it that Christianity is the white man's religion? I love how, a rap, his name is Bizzle. He said, tell that to the Ethiopians who, he said, Christianity is a white man's religion. Tell that to the Ethiopians who accepted Christ as their Lord and Savior without slavery. Matter of fact, back in 1619, when that was before it actually started back in Jamestown, there were about 4,000 black Christians that were brought over here, and there was a Roman Catholic priest by the name of Manuel Batista, I think his name was, who was enraged at the fact that they were taken in slavery. But they were Christians before they became slaves. Back in 1619, before any of it had been instituted officially. So for those who want to talk about Christianity being the white man's religion, there's a few facts for you to turn that on its head. To 2 Corinthians 10:5 them. Yes, I said 2 Corinthians 10:5 them, because that's what you want to do. Absolutely, many Christians came to Christ before slavery. Many Christians. Again, going all the way back to what? Luke was written around 45 to 56 AD, and that's based on many Jewish historical events that was not written in Luke or Acts. Luke wrote Acts also, and again, that's based on many events that were not written in his books. And the reason why we expect them to be written in his books is because Luke was a very meticulous writer. And so he did not miss things. Matter of fact, he wrote in ways that he did not necessarily have to write, but he did so because he wanted to make sure he got as much as he could. He was a doctor. That's the way he did things. And so the fact that these events, these very important historical events, were missing, like, for example, the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, and the fact that none of the all the main characters of like Paul and Peter, none of their martyrdoms were present in his writings, is because they hadn't happened yet. And that's what leads us to believe that his books were written very early on. And in his books, in Acts, is the event, or the recollection of the event of the Ethiopian being saved. Go look at Acts 8, verse 26 through 40. It's right there. So that's just back to say, we do not know, we should, as black people, everybody should adhere to this. But as black people, don't believe stuff just because of the color of a person's skin. And don't disbelieve something because of a color, because they don't have the same color skin as you. Believe it based on the merit of it. Believe it based on merit. And the only merit that we have to look to is whether or not it lines up with God and his word. If it lines up with it, I don't care whose mouth it's coming out of. Believe it. As long as it lines up with the truth, not based on the culture. That's how you do it. The truth, not my truth, not your truth, the truth. My truth can be wrong. Your truth can be right. Your truth can be wrong too. Your truth could be right, but don't get into this cultural stuff, or my truth. I don't care about your truth. I don't care about your truth if it's not lining up with God's word, if it's not lining up with reality, because that's what truth is. Truth is that which lines up with reality. If it doesn't line up with reality, it's not truth. It's just your opinion. Everybody has an opinion. Should we go based on someone's opinion? What if the opinion is that of a murderer? What if the opinion is that of a child molester? What if the opinion is that of a rapist, a pedophile? Should we go along with that? What if they're black? Anyway, I appreciate you all coming on. Dolly, Sabrina, my baby. I love you so much, even though you're not close to me. But you will be soon. And I can't wait to see you when you come back home. She's in Michigan. Brittany, thank you for coming on. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. I saw you, Sonia. Don't think I ain't see you. Tell my brother I said, what's up, Miss Hooper. I appreciate you and hope y'all have a great evening, a great afternoon. Enjoy this Saturday. I hope it's sunny where you are, okay? Love you guys. Oh, don't forget to sow at rainfireministries.org. I forgot to do that earlier. I'm doing this myself, so because a lot of people are not available, but that's okay. It's always good to learn how to do it. So I am out of here. Love you guys.
Leave your brain stimulated.
Misconception.
Those deadly habits have me losing my cool. That's what your frame of mind is chosen. I'll leave your brain stimulated.
Since my conception, I've been riddled with deception. Televised lies devised to lead a blind insurrection against the resurrection. And the greatest misconception, the world believes the Christian is foolish without direction. And they knock it, then knock it. But what does it profit? A profit to be socially ostracized. And no, we ain't stopping to mock it. But if there's anything I can do to raise the stock in the market for a biblical worldview, then there's no